ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
I think culture's an overrated and overused term when describing footy departments these days. But I think the key part is we've never fallen in love with ourselves and we've never thought that we were better than any other club.
That's Chris Scott, the Geelong coach, trying to answer a question as to why they have been so consistently excellent over his 15-season run. I feel like I know the coach, and I feel like I know his Brisbane rival, Chris Fagan. I mean, I've been watching them talk and their teams compete for a decade plus, but that's a ridiculous statement. I don't really have much idea about them at all. They say sports teams are an extension of their leaders. So today we're trying our best to understand who these leaders and teams are before one of them becomes our 2025 AFL Premier. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily. Corbin Middlemas is on the streets of Melbourne. He's been our go-to AFL man all year. He will call the game on Saturday. His fourth decider. Corb, clubs are defined by their leaders and stars, so I want to use that gambit to set up this conversation and pick through a few from each club, starting with Geelong. Chris Scott. He often presents as the smartest coach, the AFL's voice of reason, who occasionally, yes, blows up at junior AFL PR people. But how would industry insiders describe this coach?
I think he's widely considered the best coach in the game, certainly tactically, that he's the best coach in the game. And now, I mean, his win-loss record will reflect that. He's won something like more than 60% of games across a long tenure now, which obviously started way back in 2011. But the one thing that he hasn't had to sort of bring in line with that theory is the premierships, and now he's starting to collect them. So obviously won one in his first year in 2011, and despite being sort of uber successful for a decade and featuring in multiple preliminary finals, he hadn't had any more silverware until 2022. He was able to obviously win that premiership, and now he's completely recast this team. So I think as much as we think of, Geelong could win 2 flags in 4 years, they're going to have only 12 premiership players in on Saturday. So that's 11 new faces to this lineup. He's been able to change them on the run and got them all the way back to grand final day as the favourites leading in. So as much as his image might have taken a little bit of a knock here or there as the season's gone on in the way that he's handled things, I would argue that's probably even more so putting him in the same bucket of the likes of Clarkson and Malthouse. They've all got a little bit of a few rough edges on them despite their greatness, and I think Chris Scott's no different, but certainly belongs in that conversation.
The captain, Patrick Dangerfield, he's smart. He says the right things.
Controlling what we could, which was how we played, regardless of who we played, and getting better each game. So that's a focus of ours every season. It's harder to execute at times, and then executing in the biggest games under the most amount of pressure. So there is no bigger game than tomorrow. It's a great challenge for both sides, and I'm really proud of our guys for the way that they've attacked the season.
When the game is on the line, he's generally the guy. Do you sense he's universally admired and loved within the AFL community?
I think that's changing, and probably really for the first portion of his career, or for the lion's share of his career, probably not. I don't think he's been overly an endearing character, I guess, for supporters of opposition clubs, but probably a little bit like his finals reputation. I feel like it's changed in recent times. In 2022, it was just about the last thing that he hadn't ticked off yet. So for as great as he'd been, had he been able to get it done in September when it really counted? And the answer up until that point was no. And then in that 2022 final series, he won the Gary Ayres medal as the premier player of the finals. He was excellent on grand final day, and if it wasn't for Isaac Smith, would have won the Norm Smith medal. And then to be able to see what he's done again this September, I mean, that was a proper legacy game in the preliminary final at an advanced stage of 35 to wind back the clock and show us what he's capable of still.
Comes to Myers. Here's Dangerfield, who snaps! On tonight of all nights, the MCG truly is Dangersfield's. He's got another one. That's 3 for the captain, who has been nothing short of magnificent for Geelong this evening. Huge.
I think he's certainly absolutely in the hearts now of plenty of neutral footy fans.
Bailey Smith is a style icon. He wears speed dealers inside with the tuxedo. He's a leader on mental health awareness. He's intimidated female photographers and clashed with rival fans. He's not a Geelong prototype. And Chris Scott gave voice to that today.
Without sort of giving away sort of too much about the way our football department works, I would describe the group of players, even if you think back to 22 for a minute, you go through those players, and if you know them, they're a big group of introverts within that team. Bailey's not one of them now, but the players have really they've really embraced him.
What do you think this extrovert tells us about the introverted Geelong Football Club?
It shows that they're willing to change what the core is of this group and what it has been for a long time. And it also, I think, shows that their culture is strong enough that they can carry someone like Bailey Smith, and that even though it doesn't necessarily fit into the mould of what the typical sort of Geelong team has been about under Chris Scott's reign, they've been able to change with him. And as Chris has given voice to as the season's gone on, we're learning about him, he's learning about us. He spoke about it again today.
Bailey, he's obviously helped us on the field. I think that's plain to see. But he's been good for a guy who, I'm approaching 50, and I've never subscribed to this idea that 23-year-olds want to be best mates with 50-year-olds. But he has lightened things up a little bit, and hopefully we're having an impression on him, but he's certainly having an impression on us, and in particular me as well.
Really, in every sense, this guy's an outlier, isn't he? He's an outlier in terms of the personality type and what goes along with it, but he's also an outlier in terms of his game, and he offers sort of game-breaking ability, and we've seen that across the course of the season so far. Top 4 finish in the Brownlow medal, and if you're trying to sort of pick a Norm Smith medalist for Saturday afternoon, he's one that's right up there in the conversation again, and he'll certainly be eye-catching with that big flowing blonde locks and of course the iconic white headband.
Chris Fagan and the Brisbane Lions. I mean, Fagan has taken this club from the margins to the absolute main game and endured the strain and stress of the Hawthorn racism investigation during that journey. And I feel like the default view of him is that he's football's daggy dad, that he's kind of engineering these victories on love alone of his players. It surely has to be more complex and deeper than that, doesn't it, Corb?
Well, I think he knows what he's good at, and he knows he empowers the rest of his team. So his fitness staff this week, for example, and I'm sure we'll touch on Lachie Neale in just a moment, but also the people that sit in the box on game day, led by Danny Daly, their footy boss, who is really seen as the next senior coach in waiting, and a lot of his assistant coaches to be able to do the work from upstairs while he's on the ground doing the bit that he's really good at, and that is togetherness, bringing these groups together. He's the proper culture carrier in this group.
I'm sure that the teammates of those younger boys are getting around them and preparing them for what's to come tomorrow. Well, I know they have, so I've left it to them and our leadership group to do that. They're all very capable young players, and whatever happens tomorrow, they'll be better for the experience. And
almost like the Drake line, isn't it? Started from the bottom, now they're here. It's amazing what he's been able to do in this period of time. 7 straight final series. I mean, this is the next great Brisbane Lions dynasty, isn't it? And really the one thing to frank that will be a second premiership in this 7-year run. They've played finals every year, a 3rd straight grand final. Can they get that second premiership? And what we know for sure is that sort of back-to-back is reserved for only the great teams. And if they do that tomorrow, they'll certainly deserve that moniker.
From a captaincy point of view, they have 2. Defender, Harris Andrews, but also midfielder Lachie Neale, and I'm really intrigued by Neale in particular. Ex-Fremantle Dockers, flirted with returning there. A lot of people forget that, stayed, won a flag. He has been the race against the clock story all week, and he's going to make a shock comeback to play in a grand final. What kind of leader is Lachie Neale, Corb?
It's a great question, and if anything, if I'm looking for sort of the ideal leader out of the 2, I guess from the outside looking in, I'd probably point more towards his co-captain this week than I would towards Lachie, and that's really through no fault of his own. It's due to his fitness concerns, and really it's been about Lachie this week. It's always sort of the focus has been on him individually rather than the broader team, and everybody in my job, for example, all they want to do is ask him, how's the calf? Is he going to make it through? I think he's played 1 game in 56 days, and the last 2 matches he's played in, he hasn't completed, and he had the quad injury originally back in round 21 against the Pies, and then he had the calf injury on qualifying final night.
So the physio just came, we're right behind him. The physio came over to him with the strapping to say, let's strap that right calf. And Lachie just looked at it and said, don't bother. So I think he knows he's done something really bad here. So this is not good news for the Brisbane Lions.
His fitness has been the concern, and as a result, the focus has very much been on him. It's an incredible resume, though. I mean, you look at it, it's best and fairest, Barassi medal as the premiership captain, multiple-time All-Australian, 2-time Brownlow medalist. So really, when it comes to individual accolades, there's not too much he hasn't ticked off. Perhaps only a Norm Smith medal, which he went pretty close to winning last year in Brisbane's premiership triumph.
We spoke about Bailey Smith being Geelong's sort of star footballer. And with Brisbane, I feel like we could take this in any number of directions. Cam Rayner, Hugh McCluggage. I'm bizarrely drawn to the other co-captain in Harris Andrews, who maybe isn't an inverted commas sexy pick from a star player point of view, but he feels so pivotal, Corb. How do you see it?
He's certainly an issue for opposition coaches, and really what Chris Scott was doing with Mark Blitzarves in the back end of the year speaks to that. If you remember after their round 15 meeting where the Lions completely blew the Cats off the park, Geelong from that point on moved Mark Blitzarves into the forward line, and he basically played as this sort of key position post-size player but almost a negating role on the intercepting defender of the other team, and that plan was originally for Harris Andrews, and Mark Blitzarves gave voice to that with us on AFL Saturday a few weeks ago.
Speaking of different roles, I've really enjoyed that forward role coming up into the ruck, and I'm keeping it simple. I'm letting Jez and Scratch do all the forward craft. I'm just trying to be competitive and make a contest for the small forwards. So that was a potential role for us for last night's game.
Don't be surprised with Reece Stanley coming back in if Mark Blitzarves goes into the forward line and basically plays a stopping role on Andrews, and that's high praise as a sort of no-fuss defender to all of a sudden attract a tag as such in a big-time game. I mean, this guy's a tremendous leader, and I think we got the opportunity to see that highlighted during the week. He won the Jim Steins Award as the best community service. He does a whole lot of work when it comes to young people that are victims of domestic violence and trying to steer them away from that.
Yeah, I think I've learnt just the importance of role models in the community, particularly as a sportsman and someone who has a little bit of a platform within society, the significance and the importance of making sure that we turn up and behave well and really set good standards as young men, and hopefully the next generation looks onto that and then behave that same way, and creating a really great example for the next generation.
This guy's a proper leader, not just inside the football club with the Brisbane Lions, but more broadly than that as well.
I cannot wait for this clash. Grand finals are always special. This one feels doubly so for some reason for me. But who do you see as the likely victor and perhaps the likely Norm Smith medalist? Because we're all sort of drawn to it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I felt like when it first got announced, there would have been a few eye rolls thinking, it's the same old teams again. But it feels like a proper legacy grand final, sort of who's going to be the team of the 21st century. The winner tomorrow will become the first side in that time to get to 5 premierships. So will it be Geelong, and that would be 5 premierships inside 20 years, by the way, or will it be the Brisbane Lions on the back of that hat-trick of premierships in the early noughties to all of a sudden do it again and have another great dynasty here? I'm probably leaning towards Brisbane just because I've been on them the whole way through. I feel like their best footy has been as good as anyone's. They are the defending champs, and so it probably takes a bit to change your mind on them. So I'll take the Lions tomorrow to get it done and go back-to-back. And while we're on that theme, Will Ashcroft at a young age to try and make it a couple of normies in successive years.
You can catch the AFL Grand Final on ABC. It's going to be on the Listen app. It's going to be on local radio. Corbin Middlemas and the team will be calling the action. Go well, Corb. Enjoy it.
Thanks, Jackie. Appreciate it.
We have an all Aussie Rules edition of Soundbites because it's AFL Grand Final week. What do the two clubs have in common? They both smashed the Swans in their last 2 premierships. It's not just us who noticed that. Here's Sydney midfielder Chad Warner.
We were talking about it last night. It's the Smoke in the Swans Cup.
Ouch. Max Holmes actually missed the 2022 Grand Final. He was ruled out through injury for that Geelong flag. His mum told ABC AFL Max is a player who has always had to bide his time, though for different reasons initially.
In some respects, his pathway years, he didn't play a lot of footy because he was absolutely tiny. I mean, our family, we don't reach puberty until we're, approaching 18. And some kids, they're 12 and 13 and they've got beards. So that was just not the way our family's testosterone rolled. So Max was aware of that. Stitch up from mum. The family aspect of grand finals is super cool, though. Imagine being one of the players' kids getting to tag along for the ride. Although Dane Zorko's son maybe is not as much of a footy lover as some kids out there.
You want to play in the MCG one day?
Only for cricket.
Only for cricket, no worries. We'll leave the footy stuff to Dad then.
There are some big milestones in the AFLW this weekend too. For the first time, we have 2 players reaching the 100-game mark. Ali Anderson from Brisbane and Ebony Marinoff from Adelaide both clocked the ton on the same day at the same time. Here is Marinoff talking about how the code has changed over the course of her 100-game career.
The best part about it is that, for the OGs here at the footy club, you touched on the 100 games, like we've been here since day dot. So we have a real sense of appreciation and understanding how far the AFLW has come because we have been here since day dot.
That is pretty cool. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily, produced by Poppy Penny. Thanks to Channel 7, Fox Footy, Channel 9 for the extra audio used in this episode.
Discover more great ABC podcasts, live radio and exclusives on the ABC Listen app.